Hello guys. Hello sir. This is Edelberto M. Pino Jr., B.Ed second year, and my topic is all about education and primitive society. When we talk about education, education is the process of facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, skills, values, morals, belief, and habits. Educational methods include teaching, training, storytelling, discussion, and directed research. Robert O. Brinker Hope, 1989. In primitive societies, pre-literate persons faced the problem of survival in an environment that pitted them against natural forces and wild animals. To survive, human beings needed food, shelter, warmth, and clothing. To transform a hostile environment into one that is life-sustaining, humankind developed life skills that eventually became cultural patterns. Cultural patterns are shared belief, values, norms, and social practices that are stable over time and that lead to roughly similar behavior across similar situations. Here are some examples of primitive society means of survival or means of their livelihood. The number one picture is fishing along the rivers. The other one, example number two, is hunting wild animals. Life skills included a tool or instrument making, adherence to the moral behavior code of group life, and language. Socialization, a function of education in society, is the process by which individuals internalize the norms and values of society and social and cultural continuity are attained. This is also informal education in action. Socialization is very important for children who begin the process at home with family and continue it at school. Key periods in educational history. As you can see guys, table 1, points of emphasis on education and history. Key periods in educational history from 1000 before Christ to after the 1600. In the first column, historical group or period was composed of primitive Greek. The Greek was divided into two, the Athenian and the Spartan. The third one is the Roman. They, they varied each group when we talk about educational goals, curriculum, agents, influences on Western education. Their educational goals in primitive is to teach group survival skills, to cultivate group cohesiveness, while in Greek, to cultivate civic responsibility and identity with city-state. The Athenian, to develop well-rounded person, while in Spartan, to develop soldiers and military leaders. In Roman, to develop sense of civic responsibility for republic and then empire. To develop administrative and military skills. In the column of curriculum, the primitive societies is practical skills, hunting, fishing, food gathering, stories, myths, songs, poems, and dances. While in the Greek, in part of Athenian, reading, writing, arithmetic, drama, music, physical education, literature, poetry, and in Spartan, drill, military songs, and tactics. Uh, I think this was the group of soldiers. They fight for their country, which is the Greece. In Roman, reading, writing, arithmetic, laws of 12 tables, law and philosophy, and so on. Agents influence on Western education. In the primitives society, the agent was parents, tribal elders, and priests. In Greek, was private teachers in Athens. In Sparta, military teachers, drill sergeants. In Roman, private schools and teachers, schools of rhetoric. Table 2 is the continuation for the Table 1. And here is the historical group: Arabic, medieval, Renaissance, and Reformation. Still, each group varied their differences in their educational goals, curriculum, agents, and influences on Western education. The history of the Philippine educational system. Education during the pre-colonial period. Education was informal and unstructured, decentralized. Fathers taught their sons to look for food and other means of livelihood. Mothers taught their girls to do the household chores. This education basically prepared their children to become good husbands and wives. During the pre-colonial period, the learning for education was only basic, and the teacher here is only our parents and elders of the group, the tribal group, since the education is decentralized or by region only. Education during the Spanish era. Education was formal and organized. Tribal tutors of the pre-Spanish period were replaced by Spanish missionaries. Pupils attended formal schooling in the parochial school. Instruction was religion-oriented. Christian doctrines, sacred songs, and musics and prayers were taught because they were required for confession. Boys and girls were separated. Wealthy Filipinos or ilustrados were accommodated in the school. In this time of Spanish, during the Spanish era, the teacher in who taught in to educate the people is the bourgeois or the Spanish priest. Since that the Spanish taught us the Catholicism and they brought the religion here in our country, the pupils attended formal schooling in the parochial school or the room beside the church, the parochial church. That is why they called it parochial school. And the instruction was religion oriented. Education during the American regime, 1898 to 1946. This was the date during our colonization of American to our country. The Americans promoted democratic ideals and a democratic way of life. The schools maintained by the Spaniards for more than 3 centuries were closed, but were reopened on August 29, 1898 by the Secretary of Interior. In May 1898, the first American school was established in Corregidor, and shortly after the capture of Manila in 1899, 7 schools were opened in the city. During these days, American regime, the teacher was called Thomasites by some of the Filipinos. The Thomasites were a group of 600 American teachers who traveled from the United States to the newly occupied territory of the Philippines on the transport ship USS Thomas. Thomasites derive their name to USS Thomas ship.